Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Jeff Mendelson, and this is the One Big Tip podcast. And today I am really pleased to have with me on the line Margo White. Went from being a serial entrepreneur to the number one expert in copywriting for entrepreneurs. She believes that your copy is the biggest asset of your business nowadays, and that's why you need to fully control the process, even if you outsource it. And what's cool about Margo is that she created her own system, the Content DNA for CEOs, that helps establish a deep connection with your prospects and your clients, save your budget on expensive copywriters, and get a copy that drives action. This is gonna be a wonderful conversation today. Margo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. That was quite an introduction. I'm flattered.
Thank you so much. So I'm really excited about this because copywriting is one of the things, it almost feels like this, like this dark art to me, right? And the reason why is because it is deceptively easy, right? I don't know if you can see, like I have a college degree up there, right?
Right.
I know how to read and write English to a pretty high level. Why can't I write copy, right? Like for me, it'll take me hours and hours and hours to get it out, right? And like for my business, I just find that it is really tough to first of all, find that voice and to really push it out there so that you can, that people will take action on it and sell. So what I usually end up doing is, like you say, outsourcing it, right? But
Right.
there are some steps you need to do before that, right? So
No, absolutely.
before we get into the one big tip, I would love it if you could give us a little bit of a background of who you are and what makes you awesome.
No, thank you very much. So, first of all, in terms of copywriting, it's not necessarily for entrepreneurs to write a great copy, but it is essential for you to establish a strategy. So not all entrepreneurs are great copywriters. And I can tell you that if you are writing your own copy from the very beginning, just because you cannot outsource it effectively, then you will not be productive in terms of, creating content massively. Because it will, even one blog post can take a whole of your day. How will you attract clients? How will you work on a strategy? So when I get into this business, I love creating copy, and I did that since I was 12 and then evolved. But the point is, what makes me different on the market is I'm not a copywriter, I'm copywriter for entrepreneurs. So until I went in, no one taught entrepreneurs how to do their homework before outsourcing that. And why you can't outsource this everything, Jeff, is because you're obviously, it's like in brackets, but your $15 an hour copywriter cannot have the same mindset as you have as a business person. This is a very crucial thing, and you cannot just transfer those ideas to these people unless you put that on the paper and give the right answers to the right questions about your business, about your audience, and about your content strategy. Now the good news is, after you will put this everything on a page, it becomes you know pathetically easy to create the content, and you can hire any decent copywriter and even change those copywriters over time without the damage to your copy, because it will look like it was written and created by you.
You know what's really interesting about this whole thing is that I've hired copywriters on both ends of the spectrum. I have, hired people that just went completely off topic, and you're like, what the hell were you thinking when you wrote that? It's like totally not what I gave you. And then I've also hired other copywriters where where you give them a brief and then they come back 3 weeks later with something amazing, right? And the first part is, well, why did it take you 3 weeks to write that, right? And it's because these are this is important. This is important stuff, right? And it's for someone to sit there and spend some brain energy on it and to actually kick it out so that it is actionable. That is a true, right? And that is something that you really need to make sure that that you have down, because if you are giving poor briefs to a copywriter. Like I don't, if you give a bad brief to an insanely great copywriter, you're still going to get back, this, copy that's probably not good for you, right? And I think that's one
Yeah.
of the things that, you really need to figure out. Like, okay, like what am I doing and why am I doing it? I'd like to dial this back a little bit and think about how you train the entrepreneurs that hire you in order to give you that brief, that DNA as you call it, and to prepare you to deliver excellence to them. How does that work?
Well, that's a lot of work. First, when I entered the market 4 years ago, I had to explain to entrepreneurs that they actually have to answer some questions, maybe not related to the copy, so that it would be great. And over the time, I developed a list of questions that don't need to be filled in every single time when you want to create a copy. It just, shapes the general strategy of the company. And it's so pretty clear that you just give the topic to the copywriter and he writes according to that brief. So it's just one-time thing. So everybody listening right now, guys, don't be afraid. You don't have to create your content strategy, your customer avatar, and you describe your business every single time. Actually, it's one-time job, and it takes, usually on my masterminds, for example, it takes 2 days, and it saves a lot of time for people on the long term. But answering your question on what did I start with is, lots of people start describing their business, like why they came into business and the story, like how they established it. But what I really want to know about the companies I'm working with is what are your true beliefs about the industry you're in? What are your true beliefs about your life? And one question that I ask them, which is Einstein's question, by the way. What does Einstein have to do with the copy, you ask? Well, it does. It is connected. So Einstein's question was, are we living in a friendly or a hostile universe? And the answer to that question lays into the baseline of everything that you're creating up. Moving on. And if you want to, I can share some tips
Yeah,
on.
I would like to dive in a little bit. So, a friendly or a hostile universe, that's basically, would you translate that as like a, what business landscape? Are you in an ultra competitive versus a niche market? Are you in a red ocean versus a blue ocean? Like, how does that question play out?
Well, that question is answered long before the business is established, and it's the question about the personality of the owner. That's why I only work with the owners of the company, because even the CEO, if he's appointed, he doesn't know why, what is the nature of the company. So long before the company is established, back into the childhood, that's where this friendly or hostile universe, action begins, because Einstein, went further with that, and he said that if we live in a friendly universe, we will spend our lives building bridges. But if it's hostile, then we will spend it building walls. Well, the thing is, you create your business with a nature of, you can see it online most of the times, with a nature of aggressive behavior or the entrepreneurial behavior. So I divide it into business and entrepreneurship. The example of aggressive behavior, it's not like good and bad. And there is no right answer to that. It's just how you accept the universe. For example, if the person had tough childhood, he develops this behavior like he needs to protect himself, and sometimes he needs to be aggressive for it. If the child had more like entrepreneurial mindset, like Steve Jobs, for example, right, who didn't care about all the earthly goods and all the stuff, and then in this case, they're protective as well, but they're protective of their idea, and not like physically protecting their wealth. So this is the huge difference between, because we can see all these mixed messages online from the companies who are trying to do both strategies. And in fact, you want it or not, you attract the like-minded people into your business. Like, for example, people listening to your podcast, Jeff, they're like-minded because those who want more aggressive behavior, they will the reason recently that it's like walk in the park, because it's very easy to listen and you get the real value, the real tips. You don't get like all that motivation, and all the screaming, but you get the real value. Like, that is what entrepreneurial mindset wants and needs. And that's why most of your listeners, I'm sure, are entrepreneurs like you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. I want to dig a little bit deeper though, into the content DNA, the whole concept of building the DNA that then becomes part of the foundation or the skeleton or the base that you rise up from. How does creating the DNA for your copy help you when you're building the additional stages, as you're building up the building? Like how does all that work?
Well, content DNA consists of 3 stages, which is you and your business, your customer avatar, and your content strategy. And it all starts with you. I want to tell that people who are listening to this customer avatar and other mysterious creatures in the world of marketing that are always so messed up because different people explain them in a different way. Well, your customer avatar is not like someone that you need to create. It's someone that you need to shape because they already exist. The moment you decided to open and, generally have your business. If you're in B2B business, or so you're the face of it, or you're building personal brand, want it or not, your customer avatar is already there. You just need to shape them right. And what most people find it really difficult to do is they find it difficult to say no to some audience who doesn't fit the profile. And that's the big mistake, because people who you feel really connected to, if you don't shape them well, you won't get the audience of raving fans. And no business can survive a 5-year or 10-year mark without the raving fans who will not change you for any other company, no matter what. So if you don't have this, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, the whole raving fans part, right? It almost sounds like a throwaway line when, motivational speakers are trying to get you to, yeah, you got to buy this, you got to buy that, you got to make that happen. But at the same time, like when you are totally dialed in to your customer avatar, you're right. Because if you take on a client that is not within that customer avatar, if you take on a project that is not in line with the direction of where you want to go, it becomes a distraction, right? And
Absolutely.
those distractions are definitely going to be a time suck. You may get clients that are, like the kind of clients that try to call you up at 11 o'clock at night. Hey, where's my project type thing. But it could also be, like just you're not enthused. You're not really excited about the whole prospect of working with this person. And who's got the time for that, right? I mean, who really wants to go ahead and and do that? And it comes down to focus. It comes down to really being able to dial in on what is your mission and how are you going to serve those that you've been called to serve for, right?
Exactly. And
One
how are
last
you
question.
going to? Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So one last question. With the, after you customer avatar and after you create the DNA, like you mentioned earlier that once you have all that dialed in, then you can sub it out to a contractor or a copywriter, even
Yeah,
someone mediocre, not someone, like high end like yourself. How does that
absolutely.
work? How do you ensure that that level of excellence or that voice that you're trying to convey actually gets passed on from from person to person? Because that's also an issue, right? I mean, when I hire somebody, I'm looking for a long-term relationship. I try not to let them go. I try to make sure that they're happy so that they like working with me, right? But, HR happens, right? So I'm going to take on other projects. I can't work for you anymore. Maybe I got married and had a kid, whatever it is, right? How do you ensure that DNA continues as you're moving on from person to person?
Well, great copywriters really rarely stick to their place, because they always evolve into business people. And you should know that a great copywriter will not stay with you for 10 or 15 years, because if they are good in what they do, they can open any business and make much more money than whatever anyone is paying them. So you should be ready for the fact that you're going to change them once in a while. And I find it really, really effective to work with freelance copywriters at Upwork or Fiverr. But once again, it's like short-term projects are from 1 to 3 months, so that they would have enough time to study the files and et cetera, et cetera. Now, how does this work, you ask? Well, when we describe you and your business in terms of your views, when we describe customer avatar and make the list of their thoughts that are going on in their mind, and when we create a content strategy that includes your unique welcome message, goodbye message, and the unique words that you use mostly in your content, then whether you're giving it to one copywriter or another, the copy shape is the same, the skeleton is the same. So if your copywriter is able to read, listen, and apply, it's all there. And it's very easy to change those copywriters. I do that for my clients like every single week. So the only question is, how detailed did you write down the thoughts of your prospects? Because usually people try to make the list of basic data about customer avatar. I don't do that. The only thing I'm really worried about is what is going in their heads right now, right this very second. And that actually also shapes your content strategy, because you instantly get this idea of what to write about. You don't need to, come up with a new idea every single day.
Amazing. That's amazing advice. Thank you so much for that. Margo, can you tell everyone how they can learn what it is that you do and how they can reach out to you directly?
Sure. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so it's LinkedIn.com in Margo White, and also I have the website writewithwhite.com if you want to go in and check some free tips, because they're all there. And by the way, the content DNA mind map is there too.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's
Thank
been
you,
an
Jeff.
excellent conversation. And, I just love nerding out on this stuff, right? Because there are so many aspects to promoting your business, creating a whole digital marketing profile and a whole strategy. And copywriting is definitely, while very important, it's right up there. And you really need to have that dialed in if you want everything else to work for you. So thank you so much for
Absolutely.
sharing that today.
I enjoyed that. Thank you so much, Jeff, for inviting me.